Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show. We're sharing some links about robots and AI and nonsense today.
And space.
And space.
Our first story is surprising because I looked up when we covered the news of the team that was working on that, when they were laid off, and it was over a year ago.
Also, when were we promised that we would have this? Just not from Apple, but from anybody?
Just in general, yeah.
It was 5 years ago? Boy, we are not hitting the targets here, are we?
Apple scales back its self-driving car and delays launch to 2026, Bloomberg News. Remember, what was it, Hyundai? Hyundai leaked. It's like, we're Apple's partner, and Apple's like, no, that's not how we conduct ourselves.
Yeah, there was several companies like that, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't the Rivian company mixed up with them at some point?
Oh, yeah. You know, Rivian is actually doing some impressive stuff. They put a lot of thought into their, like, camping accessory trunk in their truck thing.
Well, you know who else is putting a lot of thought into stuff? Amazon, because they've also made promises that have never materialized.
I thought they fired all these guys.
Maybe they hired new guys. I don't know, but they are still working hard to try to figure out this difficult to solve problem.
Amazon has a new drone for 30-minute urban deliveries. And this is weird because I'm sure that just a few weeks ago we covered the story about how Amazon was scaling all this back. And yet there's some hype here. Is this just what the team left behind? It's like, all right, you guys figured it out. You're fired.
So this is a VTOL. What they're going to do is they're going to strap your package, I assume, down here on this little board, unless those legs are not attached to the board and that's just where it's standing. Maybe those are just like, they clutch it like a skill crane. And then it's a VTOL, so it takes off, rotates the turbines, goes 50 miles an hour. And now, instead of dropping on a tether, it drops it from 12 feet, but it uses AI to monitor what's below it. So if you're
they keep saying that, like, oh, the AI is going to know if someone's underneath it. And I'm like, we'll see.
But then, you know, like, we know that AI has trouble with certain skin colors.
Or just like, oh, they're wearing a weird camouflage shirt. I don't know how to read that. Yeah.
That would be a bad headline. But yeah, they're going to monitor. And then, like, if you're under there, you're waving your arms, like, give me my package, it won't do it. Oh, oops. It'll wait or it'll leave. I wonder if you could wait it out and make its battery run out.
Oh.
It'll be like in Monty Python. You're wearing the shrubbery costume, and it's like, oh, that's a bush, and then it just, drops it adjacent to you.
But we might not get this in our area because we don't have the density problem.
No.
The idea here is like really tight city spaces. But then,
like, won't it always see people?
Well, apparently,
I guess it depends on what city you're in and like how much space you've got. But
and I could troll you. If you're getting a delivery, I could just stand under the drone. You never get your delivery. Or I could wait, and it'd be like a fumble in the NFL. Me and all the porch pirates diving for the package at the same time. Because it's going to be obvious where that thing's coming. They could just follow it.
Around here, people might just shoot the drone down, too.
Yeah.
It's like storm chasing, but drone chasing for thieves.
And we'll see in some of the original coverage of the Amazon delivery problem, they also wanted drones in, like, rural Nebraska, because the delivery driver might only be able to make 8 deliveries in a day because the houses are so spaced out. But this would also solve those problems.
I love UPS had that one where the drones were like mother shipping on the truck. That seemed like a great idea.
Yeah.
I guess that didn't go anywhere.
I always do feel bad when I see the Amazon driver pull up like in our driveway and then they don't continue down the road. They just immediately turn back. And I'm like, oh, did they just have to come down here for us?
Although, you know, what's crazy is they have that thing where once they're close to your delivery, it'll tell you how many deliveries they have next. And they'll be like really close to my house and there are 10 deliveries left. I'm like, wow,
really?
that's...
Mine are always like, there's only 3 stops left. And the next one is like way far away.
Well, Krista, you're out there in the rural area and you're doing all that gardening.
Right.
You can't really call it farming.
No, I don't do it to scale.
But if you had one of these, which I'm sure only costs about $500,000,
Oh,
you could maybe do some autonomous farming.
electric robot tractors powered by Nvidia AI chips are here. I think it was like $500,000. It was an obscene amount of money.
Regular tractors are very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, we looked into that briefly and we were like, oh, we can't afford that right now.
They can perform tractoring tasks without a driver, but are not necessarily allowed to under California law.
I'm sure no farmers would ever do that.
I mean, it's an improvement since other tractors usually have to use diesel, but I don't know. I feel they'll probably be the same thing where it's like the John Deere tractors where they get locked out for stupid reasons and then they kind of become useless. There's a reason people buy the really old tractors.
Well, here you've got the Nvidia tech, so there's no way you're going to be able to work on that yourself.
Yeah.
If the Nvidia chip goes out, you're going to buy another one. IEEE, they certainly have a
This is a
huge font.
website. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Chinese joint venture will begin mass producing an autonomous electric car. Robo01, Baidu and Chinese car maker. What?
come on, IEEE.
Really aim for a fully self-driving car.
Full self-driving.
Okay.
I think this is the one where they went in with the Middle East too, right? Some of those unpopular gentlemen are invested in this. I like the suicide door. That
There's no steering wheel.
yeah, that's the crazy part about it. No steering wheel, and we don't have this technology yet. That's the problem. You're building it.
It's just a software problem.
I would love to see a car like this though, just on like a little country road, trying to make it around some of those corners.
They're saying that's going to cost $55,000. Electric, full self-driving. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
Would you say Stratego or Stratego?
Stratego.
Yeah.
Stratego?
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Isn't that
think
how
that.
it's pronounced? It's like an old game from a long time ago.
I don't remember. I think we have talked about this before, but anyway, this is more complex because it's like Go, but you have to do it blind, which would make it hard for an AI. But of course,
DeepMind AI topples experts at complex game Stratego. Game-playing AIs that interact with humans are laying important groundwork for real-world applications.
There is,
crushing descent, I
Yeah.
think, is the application.
yeah, they were like, we want our AIs to be able to understand that humans don't always behave rationally.
And
What about like, I mean, just I always go back to the Half-Life example because the enemies in Half-Life were so different than any other video game enemies ever, and by modern standards, they're just trivial.
yeah, that was the most disappointing thing about the original Half-Life was they had those amazing human enemies. And like you say, they took cover, they threw grenades, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Then you went into the alien world,
Yeah.
and all that was just gone. It's like, why did you make us wrap up here? What a disappointment.
It's
game.
almost like it was, a portent of what was to come with Valve not being able to finish stories.
Oh, I've made myself sad.
And I think we talked about this, right? That this was coming, or they're
Yeah.
thinking
thinking about it. Well, they're doing it.
Adobe will sell AI-made stock images.
Good luck getting embroiled in that legal argument.
Yeah, it now becomes a race to the bottom because who can produce the most AI images quickly?
If you're a creator, do you even want to make stuff anymore? Because it's like,
But
I'm not
why
going to
would-
get any kind of compensation. They're just going to use it in a data set.
Why would you keep buying stuff from Adobe
Yeah.
when you could just get a subscription to one of the AI generators? Do it yourself.
And then own it forever because it can't be copyrighted.
Yet.
Yeah, they're working on that. There are elements that are working on rewriting the law for that, which is really dumb. We have to resist that.
And the Chat GPT was not the first AI coding stuff, but it seems to be the best. It's
So
doing
far,
some
yeah.
really
It
amazing
wasn't even
stuff.
designed for that. It's the mind-blowing thing.
But it's doing it, and it's getting it right in some cases, which is scary. But of course, when you put it on easy mode, for whatever reason, people want those internet points, and they will abuse it.
AI-generated answers temporarily banned on coding Q&A sites. Stack Overflow. Of course, we're talking about Chat GPT. We get to have a whole conversation about Chat GPT, but
And the nervousness that it puts in me.
You know who else could have a whole conversation about Chat GPT?
ChatGPT.
yeah, it's not fabulous.
Yeah, it's not perfect by any stretch, but it is surprisingly good.
If you have no idea what you're doing, it will seem better than it is. But if you have some idea of what you're doing, it is middling.
I think if you were trying to use it for a real project, you would quickly run into problems with it.
It's funny you say that. I was waiting on somebody. Somebody was supposed to do copy entry and copy generation, and they were like, "There's no copy on this." It's like, I don't know.
We don't do that in our contract. We don't do copyright.
Just for giggles, I went to Chat GPT and it was like, "Give me some filler for this," and it was like, "Okay," and it was actually pretty good. And I just copy pasted it, and they're like, "Okay, thanks," and I was like, "Whatever. I don't even care."
Well, one group that is probably not as hyped about how good Chat GPT is are these people.
AI learns to write computer code in a quote unquote stunning advance. This is not ChatGPT, it's DeepMind. And DeepMind looks like it's doing better than ChatGPT. Although this is this is GPT. You know, we always talk about GPT-3. GPT-3 is the one we did the game streaming on. This ChatGPT is GPT 3.5. GPT-4 is currently in training, and they say is over 1 trillion parameters.
I kind of looked at this article and I thought, I was like, isn't it kind of cheating if it's doing code though? Because it's like learning its own native language.
No. That's not how that works.
Who better to understand?
Yeah. Who can think more like a computer, me or a computer?
The good news is a scaled up ChatGPT is not going to give us general artificial intelligence, but it doesn't. You don't need general artificial
You just
intelligence.
need people to think it's artificial
to
intelligence.
completely upend the labor market either.
But that eventually is going to, that's not a base you can build on.
Yeah, right.
That will fall apart eventually.
Yeah.
I think that's where it hurts us.
It's a foundation on sand.
Possibly, maybe not even sand, maybe walnut shells.
Just slipping and sliding all over.
Sawdust, like Seattle. Remember what happened to Seattle?
Oh,
Well, here's an interesting one. I read this headline and I was like, wait, I helped pay for that. I should, of course, have access to it. And then the argument, I was kind of like, well, maybe, but no, I think I still disagree. This is ivory tower, right? Like, why wouldn't you let everybody see it?
NASA plans to make JWST data immediately available will hurt astronomy.
That's the James Webb Space Telescope.
that's an opinion piece from a scientist.
But it's in Scientific American.
What their argument is that, like, let's say that you're studying something and you have this, you put all this work into it, but then you need to go to the space telescope to confirm it. Right after you do your observations, they will go into the public and somebody else could snap it up.
And publish before you.
Wouldn't that advance science? Isn't that moving at the speed of science?
It's moving at the speed of science, but there's no funding and people need bread to eat.
But I
Money
still
to eat.
benefit from it. My tax dollars were still spent and I still benefit because we move forward. Why do I care about some scientist?
Well, if you're a scientist, why do you go into the field if you're not going to be rewarded for it either in recognition or in cash?
Because you love space. All right, stop. Somebody else will do it.
Or
We
an
ain't
AI
gonna-
will do it.
We ain't gonna let that. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, the AI said that all the planets are gone. Oh, don't question it.
Don't question it. Nobody look at it. Nobody wants to do it anymore because no one's paid for it.
And Australia, they do not have a space telescope, but they got a cool one that's coming up.
Are we alone in the universe? Work begins with Western Australia's most powerful radio telescope.
Now, I don't know what kind of calibration you'd have to have here. They claim this could detect a radio signal coming from a phone in the pocket of someone on Mars.
Okay.
I mean,
Is there any way for us to test that statement or is it just like marketing hype?
you'd have to really have that dialed in, right?
Yeah.
This is unsettling because predicting the weather is an amazing thing that we have. Like, imagine, we think nothing about it, but 200 years ago, that was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Now we know what's coming. But our poor satellites, they're getting old.
NASA's ICON space weather satellite has suddenly gone silent. The mission team lost contact with the ionosphere probing spacecraft 2 weeks ago, and we haven't heard from it since.
Now, we do have other satellites up there that can see it. We know it's still there, but it's not giving us a call back. It's leaving us on red.
Oh.
Can we reboot it? Can somebody go out there and hit reset?
Yeah, I'm going to need you to go up there and hold the power button down for 15 seconds. You know what? Make it 30 just to be sure. And this one, I assume, was supposed to go in the space section. It was actually outside of all
Yeah, I didn't know what category to put
categories. It was just floating
Science.
in between categories.
it under. Soil in Midwestern U.S. is eroding 10 to 1,000 times faster than it forms, study finds. This is bad news because we need soil to grow food.
By forms, are we talking about like just organisms breaking down? Is that how we
Yeah,
get it?
yeah. So a lot of these places, they don't regenerate the soil by putting in like compost and stuff like that. So you get a windstorm and there's no windbreaks anymore because we got rid of a lot of those from the Great Depression and then it just blows away.
Could we solve this by, instead of burying people, just throwing them out in fields?
Maybe.
I thought that leads to disease.
Yeah, it can.
You know, if it would, benefit just throw me in the wood chipper. It's like, that's fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
what if we chip you up, mix you up with something that'll kill, like mix you with some salt or something? I guess that'd be bad for the plants.
Yeah, any of that
I
before.
mean, anything will compost down eventually, but like even people have talked about you can compost things like dog poop, but because there's a risk of disease in the dog poop, you'd have to do it at a really hot temperature.
Well, that's what they do with the methane bleeders, because once you've gone through that process, it is now manure. Mm-hmm. Would you say that anything is compost if you're brave enough?
Anything organic, maybe. Given enough time.
Well, you know what is organic, Krista, is the popularity of Microsoft Excel, competitive Microsoft Excel.
World Cup of Microsoft Excel. How can watching people fiddle with spreadsheets possibly be this fun? We reported on this last year, and it was actually surprisingly entertaining, although I haven't watched it this year.
I need to send this to my friend who's an accountant. She'd probably love it.
They pointed out like this one game that came down to the wire, and one guy, you accumulate points by getting correct answers, and he messed up one of his cells and it killed some of his answers. And in the last moments, he won with a Control Z.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, we learned last week that there was the Japanese professor, or maybe he was their version of space program guy. He was monitoring the Mars simulation where people lived in a little hut in the desert. Well, he never went and monitored them. He made it all up. That seems to be like more and more a common thing that researchers do. They're just like, yeah, I'm too busy. Pretty sure it's going to shake out like that. Just make it up.
Stanford investigates its president for possible research misconduct. It's more of the same.
Ugh.
More of the faking images, like super zoomed in images. You might just take one slide and then Photoshop it and use it 20 times. Because who's going to check? Turns out Stanford.
Turns out people like to read research papers.
I personally think that word of the year should be one word, don't you?
That'd be nice.
I mean,
This is a phrase.
it's not a word. That was the phrase of the year. Okay, it's not word of the year.
How Goblin mode became Oxford's word of the year.
What a great term.
I do feel some goblin mode sometimes.
Yeah, I'm always feeling goblin mode. Just put me under a rock
I need electricity under that rock.
and some internet connection.
Yeah. Here's I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, right? How does this not always a thing?
Legendary San Diego sword swallower has been hospitalized with a slashed abdominal cavity and a pierced liver.
Now, this happened at Six Flags, but Six Flags was just insistent on being like, no, this did not happen during the Six Flags performance. This was him swallowing swords on his own time. There's no lawsuit here. No lawsuit.
He's
here.
a contractor, not an employee.
But he got one of his lungs, his liver,
Yeah.
and was it stomach, I think?
Yeah.
Really, really skewered himself. It's almost like you probably shouldn't stick swords down your throat.
Yeah. Who knew?
They also said he's out of work for the next 6 months because he's not allowed to stick swords down his throat medically. Would you ever have the bravery to go back?
Yeah, I'd be terrified. Yeah.
He also claims he's a big follower of transcendental meditation, and the reason the damage was so bad he didn't realize it is because he can control his own pain.
Mm.
I'm sure there's a nurse somewhere who worked his case, and she's like, yeah, that's what was controlling the pain.
When they showed him the Sackler pain scale, which face do you think he chose? It's probably like, all the way over on the right, please. I will take some OxyContin. This one I know is controversial. I personally think this is an amazing idea.
What website is this? Newsweek report. The headline from Newsweek is Republican looks to lessen prison time for drug users who get sterilized.
Now, they're talking about a vasectomy or hysterectomy. Now, I agree with for the ladies, that's a little bit more
It's
invasive.
extremely invasive.
But
Maybe just do an IUD.
But you can undo that. Now, here's my argument.
A vasectomy comes undone too.
You have to have that medically done, right?
Sometimes it can reverse itself.
Which is terrifying. I would say let's extend this to all forms of welfare, especially subsidies and corporate welfare. Anybody on the executive board of any company that gets government subsidies, snip, snip.
Oh, Musk would be so upset.
Every corn farmer in the country, snip, snip.
And then you don't have any farmers to take up the mantle.
Yeah, somebody will take it. Then we get the land back. We'll do something else with it.
Other than grow food?
I'm telling you. Or maybe they'll just stop taking money and the economy can recover from the horrible wound that it's currently bleeding out from. You wouldn't love to see Elon Musk get snipped?
I mean, I would love to see that, but not at the cost of national security for food.
I don't actually want to see it.
No, yeah.
But I want to hear about it happening.
He'd find some weird loophole where it's like they took the sperm directly from him and then put it in someone else.
I guess they could still do that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's why he does that, though.
No.
I think he does that because he likes how it feels and doesn't care about the consequences.
He claims that he's all, we have to have more kids, but
I think he does
it's
that.
pretty fun when you don't have to be pregnant.
I think he does that because when you're the richest man in the world, women half your age will let you.
Ugh.
And we have a volcano that's erupting. That's always exciting, unless you live next to it. Then it's probably pretty annoying. There's a tourism thing about that, which is interesting.
Hawaii Island mayor. It's disrespectful as spectators are throwing marshmallows at the lava.
I bet the local convenience store owners are like, "Oh my God, it's disrespectful," as they stock extra marshmallows.
Yeah, marshmallows.
Why is it $25 a bag for marshmallows?
The whole Ring of Fire is kind of going crazy right now. I think there was a huge eruption of a Russian volcano as well.
Mm.
Probably something Zelensky did. What?
It's on the other side of the country, but maybe.
Hey, it's got a long reach. And the U.S. prison system is, that's a lot to keep track of because they're constantly shuffling those guys around. I don't envy the data people who have to handle that, but apparently they're not handling it very well.
Notorious cartel hitman disappears from U.S. prison system, leaving Mexico dumbfounded.
Now, this is not a picture of the cartel hitman. That's actually the U.S. president. It's weird how they would put that.
So they were trying to track him down, and he disappeared. And they're like, "Well, why isn't it in the prison database?" And they're like, "Oh."
He seems to be in good spirits.
You think he figured out a way out, or do you think that he's a state's witness now? Witness protection.
I don't know. I don't think you would be out of the system if that were the case. I think you would probably still be represented somewhere, right?
Mm.
Well, the World Cup is a thing that I guess is still going on. How long does that last? We talked about that last time.
I feel like it's trending every other day on Twitter, but I haven't followed it at all.
But the thing about it is, watching it in some places is actually very difficult. You have to pay a lot of money to get access to it. So there's a lot of, rogue streams. People get it, they put it on whatever service, and you can watch it. And there are people who can monetize that. And some countries make a lot of money relative to where they live just by getting you to watch whatever they have.
Thousands of viewers watch World Cup 2022 in Qatar on illegal streams, but the reality is that it's actually pixelated FIFA 23 games.
Got him.
How do we figure this out? Well, it turns out some of the faces in the game, not perfect. They said this is in Vietnam, and you can make like $250 from one stream. That would suck if you had a bet on the game and you thought you won. I thought this was interesting. This is now officially the oldest human narrative carving that shows a scene that we have in the world. Yeah, good luck with that.
I believe in you.
The Sayburç reliefs, a narrative scene from the Neolithic. It's a dude and some tigers.
But you left out the part where he is really obviously holding his penis. Oh, look at that.
They cropped it.
I mean, he's definitely right.
Oh, it's like the Venus statue where she's like holding her boobs.
Do you think that there was something sticking out originally and it's been weathered away over time?
Time comes for us all, chat.
But I don't know why he would be doing that with the leopards.
Such chaos.
What were they trying to tell us? Don't do that when leopards are around. That would be good advice.
Maybe it was maybe leopards were a symbol of, masculinity back then.
Virility.
Yeah.
They probably ate parts of them to try and get. Some people still do that. And the Florida Supreme Court are looking into an interesting question.
In Tallahassee case, the Florida Supreme Court will decide whether police are victims when they shoot someone in the line of duty.
Can't imagine how that would be.
That sounds weird, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that should be the case. I think that would. So the idea is not actually. Oh no.
No, it's the page we were talking about earlier. That
It just randomly has problems.
The idea is not that they are a victim after having shooting someone. The idea is, can we keep it secret? Because what happens is when cops shoot people, that gets out, and people treat them bad because of it. So they don't want to. They want secrecy after they kill someone. I don't like that idea.
I don't like that idea either.
This idea, however, you might find it exciting, but it's not what you think.
Scientists have designed a.
Well, I guess that's just the standard word. Will I get
but
monetized?
will you too?
I don't know. Lady parts on a chip? I don't know. Let's hope that doesn't do that. They took real cells and grew them in the culture and did a whole bunch of other stuff and created something the size of a stick of gum, is what it sounded like, that sort of simulates the microbiome and the bacteria were happy. And so it's artificial, but it's with real cells.
Now here's something, Krista. Did you know that the human vajayjay is the microbiome of that is unlike all the other vajayjays in nature?
I did not know that.
I
do know keeping that balance is important.
And what's inside of you currently, what makes up most of your balance, only 1% of animals, or animals only have 1% of that compound or fluid or whatever. So somewhere along the line, human females just branched off entirely. Got to be the aliens, right? Is that
true of other things on the body, like mites and stuff too?
I don't know. I only read about the one part. They do simulate other kinds of organs, though, with this kind of thing. Is that considered an organ? Engagement challenge.
Maybe your uterus?
Vag-gagement challenge.
Nah.
Come on.
I don't know if I'd trust any answers because our audience is overwhelmingly male, but maybe.
What would a cat girl have if she's both?
I'm probably allergic.
Well, government secrecy, it's a thing. It's a problem. And we're trying to open the government up. But the problem is, you know who's usually in charge of that?
Tewkesbury?
That's pretty good.
Tewkesbury Council votes in secret against plans to be more open.
So the people,
they're up to no good.
The people wanted online streaming of the meetings, so they voted in secret not to have online streaming of the meeting.
Might be time to vote in a whole bunch of new people. I don't know why, but I reacted badly to this article.
It is horrific. Now, Krista, what is the current status of your deer skull art projects?
They're rotting in the woods behind my house. I haven't, other than like checking to make sure nothing has dug them up. We haven't pulled them out yet.
How long is this time capsule go?
We'll probably pull them up in the spring. We put them in the ground in like August. It'll take a while for them to compost.
That's something to look forward to. You're always talking about something.
Yeah, that's something I am actually looking for. My friend is like, I can't wait to dig those up so we can like paint them and do stuff with them.
Deer skull spring.
Yeah.
Well, these people had a different kind of resource, but they also went artistic with it.
Rancher gives new life to afterbirth by creating art from cow placentas.
That headline is probably unique in human history.
Yeah. You think an AI could generate that? Absolutely not.
If you showed me this and you're like, yeah, this is the Ark of the Covenant and you should never open it, I'd be like, you're right. I totally believe you.
That's obvious.
Of course.
So yeah, they here we go. These two people figured out. It doesn't look as impressive without the inside lighting, does it?
I feel like this isn't necessarily, I mean, maybe particular thing is something new, but like people used skin for art before. This is a particularly unique case, but
Is that skin? I don't think placenta
I
counts as
guess
skin.
organ, meat.
I don't know what it is. Well, if I was gonna say, if you're gonna say, let's brainstorm real quick, and let's say, let's pick 1,000 jobs that would be okay to give small children. I don't think we'd ever come up with this one.
No.
This would be far further down than 1,000.
Amid federal probe, slaughterhouse cleaner agrees not to hire child labor.
It's just the jungle all over again.
I don't think they had kids in the jungle, did they?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they found that they were working like the night shift to pressure wash the viscera in hazmat suits. That's maybe not a good job to give kids.
Even in, what was the game we used to play? Frostpunk. If you allowed kids to work, they just mostly hauled coal. Like, they didn't even go in the mines. They just hauled coal and wood.
Although in England, they did put them up those chimneys.
Yeah.
That was a real bad job.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you choose chimney sweep or slaughterhouse power washer? I think I'd go slaughterhouse.
I think I would too, because at least they give you a hazmat suit.
Do you think they always did though?
No.
Probably not always, no.
And there were also the kids that made matches that died horribly. You know, that was a thing because
Also-
like, don't eat phosphorus.
The young girls who painted radioactive
Yeah,
paint.
they lost their teeth. Yeah,
I think some of them lost their lives.
yeah.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. Although I do support child labor in some cases.
Well, so do our lawmakers, so that way they don't have to pay people more.
You know, a little bit of child labor maybe terrifies you into working hard so that you don't have to do whatever it is that you did as a child.
But then do you ever get the opportunity? If you're already in child labor, you're already probably the poorest class, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
your mobility.
I had a friend who was from Germany, and she came here in high school, and she said that she was blown away by how many of us had jobs while we were in school. And I was like, yeah, everyone here is poor as shit. Like, of course we all have jobs.
Well, being poor as expletive, which we can't say.
We're probably already demonetized for the other word. I think it'll pick up for JJ.
Yeah.
But that leads to horrific crime, which we're seeing, and crimes of opportunity, which are terrifying because you can't really protect yourself from this.
Passerby steals scooter from woman after she crashes in Chambersburg. This reminded me. I spent a little bit of time trying to find the clip so I could post it to you guys and we could all laugh about it. But do you remember the news clip? It's probably from like a year ago of the guy that was on the news. Somebody broke into his house and he had, you know, a really strong version of our accent, and it was like, they were stealing my cheese grater. Who steals a cheese grater?
I haven't seen that.
That was all I could think about reading this woman's scooter, and it's like, you know, who would do that?
They said the guy already had a refrigerator in the back of his truck. So you think that was also stolen, or was he just scrapping? And he was like, well, it's laying on the road. She was laying there bleeding.
Oh,
So there was no help given.
not a good Samaritan.
And here's an interesting one. I guess, I mean, now that we have MMA, other combat sports would certainly, like, you can't really say that they're not allowed, but
This sport is all enforcers, professional ice fighting coming to Wyoming. This is basically like glorified hockey games was my takeaway.
That was always the joy of hockey when I used to watch it as a kid. Like, oh,
that's
there's
their
a
argument.
fight. Yeah.
That's their argument. Do you think Wyoming has a lot of hockey?
Yeah.
Engagement challenge. You're in Wyoming. You let us know.
But they said the reason they went to Wyoming is because Wyoming's sports, what do you call them? Athletic commission is actually very open-minded. And they say that if somebody else is doing it somewhere else and you can prove to us that it's safe, you can do it here.
The only thing I would worry about with this is like the risk of someone running over someone's like fingers with the ice skate. That's a deep, dark fear. of
Well, I
mine.
think if you go down, they stop it.
Okay.
Like boxing. Now, I did watch this, Justice Haymaker Smoke versus Justin Bull Schmidt.
Ice Wars 2.
And the thing about it is, like, punching and kicking, most of the force of that comes from your hips and your...
And yeah, you can't do that because you're on ice.
You're on ice. So they're like just flailing. Like they don't have any power behind these
I think
punches.
part of the joy too of hockey, at least, is like you never know when the fight's going to erupt.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're always on edge. You're like, should I go get a hot cocoa now or should I wait?
Also, they do this, as you can see here, in full gear.
Yeah.
Which means you're punching a helmet, which means your hands are going to break. Although you probably can't get enough
You might have
force.
the big gloves on, like what they do with hockey.
I wonder how much protection that is. It just looks awkward.
Yeah.
I didn't find it very entertaining. But I'm not a big hockey fan, so.
I had a cousin who played hockey growing up, so I kind of was into it.
How many fights did he win?
They didn't do fights in the little leagues.
Why even bother?
Yeah, I know. But when we went and saw actual hockey games, that was always exciting.
I like to add all of the food controversy stories because it just points out how horrifically processed all our food is. Wendell is discovering the true horrors of that as he tries to avoid meat.
It really is terrifying.
This one, did we ever figure out where the Subway one landed with the tuna?
I never had an update about that, I don't think.
I don't. Subway came out and said we randomly tested a bunch of stuff and there is tuna content.
But there was another one after that who
content.
denounced that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're still selling tuna as far as I know.
Yeah.
TGI Fridays doing the same thing.
Maker of TGI Fridays mozzarella sticks sued for containing no mozzarella, just cheddar.
Italians everywhere outraged.
Bad news though, the judge said that they can't sue TGI Fridays, but they can sue the manufacturer of said mozzarella sticks.
Are you telling me they don't make those in-house, fresh, every day?
Now they're saying this, is that a frozen bag? That
Yeah,
you
you can buy frozen versions of their stuff.
Frozen cheese sticks, I've tried them in the air fryer. None of them are as good as.
Yeah.
So watch out for those if you want mozzarella, I guess.
This was also really funny.
Yeah, China, I think this is a good indication that those sanctions are having an impact, huh? Yeah, that's some real world examples.
Smuggler hid over 200 Alder Lake CPUs in a fake silicone belly. I
Also-
love the subheadline, Intel inside.
Also, a couple of 9 phones.
Oh,
She had a big fake belly going on there.
those were Christmas gifts. They weren't related to the smuggling.
What do you think she was paid as her mule fee?
$200.
That's might be high.
Yeah.
Probably gave her a free plane ticket. And
Promise not to like kill her family.
some vouchers, some Chuck E. Cheese vouchers. We do not have the problem here of heat so oppressive that the roads melt, but some places are like that. Oddly enough, the places where we're building our chip fabs,
Yeah. Why?
That's-
They're short on water.
that's weird.
Weird. Rain breaks down cool pavement, quote unquote, coating in Phoenix neighborhood. This is just reflective paint. And it rains, it's hot, and then you get a splash of rain and it's cold, and then the paint just can't deal with that.
Also, there's an oil in it, and it breaks down, and they describe how they cannot even go outside without just everything being covered in oil.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second time they've screwed up the pavement in this neighborhood.
Great.
Good job.
I'm sure that's all just, washing down storm drains.
Yeah.
Killing wildlife.
Fish, I'm sure, love that flavor. And, you die young or you live long enough to become the monster. Metallica did it, and now GNR.
Guns N' Roses sues a combination florist and gun shop called Guns N' Roses. Because you
What?
could buy guns and roses at the shop.
They did call it
incredible.
Texas Guns N' Roses. So a little bit of a difference.
And totally different industries.
My favorite picture here is like, look at Axl Rose.
Ugh,
It looks like a broken down.
Goblin mode.
But he's out there. He's out there touring again. Interesting. And Krista, I thought about you here because you have often talked about maybe getting chickens,
Yeah, I keep going back and forth.
but you're on the fence. What if you could have a trial period?
That would be nice. Rent the chicken. Tennessee farmer finds a unique way to make a profit. Yeah, I would be interested, possibly.
It's exactly what it says. They have chickens that you can rent. Now they have upgraded. They have a whole package deal. They'll come out, they'll put up a coop, give you your chickens, give you some. You can
Feed?
choose 2 adult chickens, or you can go with the 4 unhatched chick plan.
Oh.
Get the joy of watching them grow. I imagine they give you 4 because 2 aren't guaranteed to make it.
Yeah. Everything I've read about, like, if you get an order of chicks, just plan on, like, half of them dying. It's like, oh,
Which is
yeah, that's sad.
depressing. And we have a follow-up on one of the most controversial stories of last week.
Balenciaga's creative director says it was wrong, the wrong artistic choice to depict children with teddy bears and BDSM.
Oh, if we weren't demonetized before, we are now.
Who could have thought
Who thought this was a horrible idea?
wrong choice? I still can't figure out what they're trying to sell me here. Is it the kids' clothing?
It's the lifestyle, but the lifestyle is awful if
Still
that's what you're
horrifying.
trying to depict. I don't understand how, like, you have your creative pitch meeting and someone mentions this and everyone's like, I don't know. Because, like, there's a lot of effort into actually planning the photo shoot. And was there no point while all the sourcing was going on and, like, setting up the set and everyone's like, maybe this is a bad idea?
Is it to the point where it's so, like, avant-garde and so high-minded that it's the emperor's new clothes?
Yeah, no one wants to say, maybe we've gone too far.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what? You're some kind of Philistine? Come on, we're Balenciaga. We push the envelope, and they're like,
They
oh,
really
okay.
don't, though. Not in comparison to some other houses. Well,
What
I mean,
are the other houses doing?
I'm saying, like, from a creative, interesting standpoint, not just putting kids in fetish gear.
Do you think that Louis Vuitton is like, maybe we should just kill a kid? Yeah,
So we get some press.
we got to take it to the next level.
They're like, we can't compete with Iris Van Herpen. We can't.
And I will reiterate, I've said this so many times, if you're going to run a cult, it doesn't seem that hard. You have to refrain from having sex with other men's wives. And I'll add an addendum to that. Also children.
Business Insider? What is Business
What a
Insider?
weird
Why
story.
is this on Business Insider?
Oh,
Business
no, this is just insider.com.
or just insider.com. The Insider headline is Cult Prophet Samuel Bateman was disgusted over his child bride's bedwetting, the FBI says. Oh, I mean,
So he took a 10-year-old bride, and I don't know, do you think that,
that'd be traumatizing?
yeah, maybe a trauma-led
Yeah.
Trauma response? Yeah. Or, you know, just a kid who doesn't have a great, you know?
a trauma response from the part of the body that's being attacked, perhaps? Now, that was not his only child bride. He is now actually facing a lot of charges over the child bride issue. He took the guy in question, and they talk about this guy was like really apprehensive about this child being taken from him. He eventually came back and took this guy's multiple wives as well, and other kids.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Again, how does no one have that moment of like, this is wrong?
See, that's why I keep telling you it's so easy to run a cult. These are not people who are operating rationally. If you just tiny amounts of self-control.
Right.
Now, the guy who originally ran this cult, currently in jail, this guy was the rising star. And he could not wait.
Rising star.
He said to himself, oh, not long from now, I'll have a 10-year-old bride. Something to look forward to.
No, we're looking. You know what we're looking for? We're looking forward to spring because I planted tulips and they're going to come up in the spring.
And the
it's gonna
deer
be
skull.
And the deer skull.
Tulips and deer skulls, chat. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about at Krista's farm. It's not really a farm.
It's getting there. It's going to take a while.
Farmlet.
Yeah. I have 10 persimmon trees coming in the spring as well.
Excitement.
I'm going to plant
If you
peaches.
don't watch every episode between now and spring just for that, what are you doing with your life?
The other option is doom scrolling, and no one wants to do that.
Or joining a cult?
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
You can join the cult on Patreon or Floatplane.
Yeah.
The cult of engagement.
The best cult.
Just go down below and submit a comment, and then you're in the cult.
Easy.
Doesn't require any wives or children.
Woo.